Hi, everybody. We are so happy to be here with you today to introduce and share Alberto Villoldo with you. This is great.
So we want to let you know about Alberto's keynote and his post-conference class at the Energy Fest. And his keynote is The Shaman's Journey Beyond Death. So Alberto, would you just say anything you want, but somehow get to talk about that as well?
I'd be happy to. Good to be with you all. And yeah, I'd like to go back a little bit to when I was at San Francisco State University. I was directing a small brain laboratory, and it was in the brain department, at the biology department, because there was no lab space anywhere. We were looking at energy medicine, but my lab was actually where they pickled brains. I had 200 brains pickled all around me, so if I ever needed a second opinion, I just had to turn one side of the room or the other. And the brain doesn't pickle very well. In fact, it doesn't age very well once it's out of the body. So it really doesn't even age very well when it's in the body. And when I left the laboratory and I went to the Amazon to work with the shamans, I realized that they had discovered the techniques to keep the brain young. And because today in the West, we think that the brain is one thing and the mind is something else, and you can just work on the mind, or the shamans will only use feathers and energy healing. But no, they work with the plants, and they work not only with the plants that keep you healthy, but with the spirit of the plants. And
Yes.
one time I was with a shaman in the Amazon, and she said, "Oh, I don't have the right plant, but that's okay. I can turn this one into the right plant." And I go, how are you going to turn that into the right plant? He said, "I'm going to summon its spirit to come and be of benefit to this person." So, for many years I've prayed over my food. I still say a blessing over the food, but I don't bless my food anymore. Today, what I do is I call on the spirit of the plant and ask it to bless me. Because coming from nature, who am I to bless this green, beautiful plant? It's blessing me with this life force. And then you awaken not only the chemical properties of the plant, but the spirit of Gaia, the great mother of nature. Nature flows through that child of hers, that plant, into you and renews you. So it's not just the chemical that we're eating. It's not just greens, and we're not only eating omega-3s. If you eat fish, you're taking on the spirit of a salmon. And this is that connection with nature that I discovered the shamans had that we didn't have. And then I became a student of the shamans. I wanted to learn. How can I work with the spirit of Gaia, the spirit of the mother, to bring about healing? And not only my efforting and my energy. And even when I said, well, may thy will be done, I'm just a vehicle, I was always reaching up towards the heavens. And then one day God said to me, "Alberto, you're pointing to the wrong direction. You got to reach down to the earth, to the mother, because you are made of flesh and bone. This is your mineral body. And when you drop that body, when this body returns to the mother, then you will continue your journey to the heavens and through the stars." And that's when I became curious about that journey and the maps beyond death, and discovered that it's important that we learn those maps today, because you don't want to be waiting until the last day of your life to know where you're going. It's not a good time to be asking for directions. So we we discovered that the shamans of the Americas and of the Himalayas were the consummate map makers of the journey to the divine, to infinity. And
Oh, oh, yes.
So that's what you'll be talking about.
That's my topic, my keynote at the conference. I'm going to be sharing these maps to infinity and how we can discover them through our practices today. And this is, see, the practice in the West is prayer, and the practice in the East is meditation. The practice of the shamans begins kind of with and I love prayer, by the way. I pray every day and I meditate every day. But the shaman's practice is about stilling the mind and the brain so that you can journey to infinity, so you can break free of time, because time runs out. You can break free of time into timelessness, into infinity, into bliss, into communion. But these maps require that we learn how to navigate through them. In Christianity, you find that there are dangers. And, when you cross over to the other side, there are the purgatories. And in the Tibetans speak about the bardos. And the bardos are not only those dark and difficult and confusing places once you die. The bardos are here also, the confusing times that we have in our lives when we can get distracted from what our mission is here in this world, which is to become enlightened. Mm. So this is part of my topic also for the conference.
And it really ties into your post-conference workshop when you talk about the distractions. We live in a very interesting time, as the Chinese curse puts it. And you'll be talking about healing the dark side, turning your demons into allies. Tell us a little bit about that.
David, I spent so many years fighting my demons, battling with them. And at the end of the day or the week or the month, I would come out bloodied and exhausted and go back to sharpen my sword and renew the fight against my demons. And then I discovered that you could turn them into allies. You could befriend them. You could feed your demons instead of fighting your demons, and discover the deep lessons that they offer you. And if you don't, then you keep bumping into them in the outside world, in that terrible boss, in that horrible relationship, in that person that said nasty things to you. And even politically, collectively, we keep bumping into our shadow, into the unhealed parts of ourselves. And I was having dinner the other night, and I was giving a talk at a political gathering where they were trying to bring political parties together. And I stood up and I said, I want to make a toast to President Trump. And my friends went, what? And I said, yeah, because he did a few good things. And then I want to also make a toast to President Biden. What? The other people said, the minute that you cannot find something good to say about someone that you don't agree with or you don't like, you're still projecting your own dark side onto them. And if I had to pick, I would certainly pick a different president than the one we've had, and even the one we have, actually. But the problem is that they embody the collective shadow of the country. They're being influenced by great archetypal forces. And if we want to avoid falling into that place of becoming unconscious and acting our anger out with our loved ones, or even hurting ourselves or judging ourselves so harshly, then we need to learn about the shadow and how we can turn those demons, internal and external, into angels. And we can do it. We know how to do that. And it requires holding the mirror up and going, wow, this is me and all my beauty and all my flaws, and I accept myself in all of these ways, and learn to love these parts of me that I disown, I reject, and that I keep bumping it into in my children, my wife, because I disown them.
So it's really been a journey of transformation for you to embrace those parts and turn them into allies. and you'll be sharing that with us, how you've done that.
And one thing I'd like to add, which is that in the West, we've all been psychologized. So we
Yes.
believe that all of these are parts of us, and they are, but they're also out there. The shamans say that at this critical juncture that we're living in history, that the gates of hell have been flung open, and all of these demons are running loose. And we can see them, in politics and in, but they also say that the gates of heaven have been flung open. And we have all of these angels and luminous beings and ancient ones that are around us and among us, available, no longer separated by a veil, by a thick curtain. The mist of Avalon have cleared. We have access now to these heavenly realms like no one before has ever had. What a time of great opportunity.
How do we relate differently to the dark forces than to the light forces that are around us?
Well, I'll tell you, there's the British astronaut Helen Sharma, PhD, Dr. Helen Sharma, went into space, UK astronaut. They asked her, do you think that there are other forms of intelligence in the universe? She says, of course there are. It's arrogant to think we're the only little blue-green planet in the cosmos. Not only that, but they're probably already here among us, and we can't see them. They're an octave different. So many years ago, I was in the Amazon, and I cut myself, and I started putting a Band-Aid on, and the woman shaman said, what are you doing? And she said, well, I want to be sure that the bacteria don't start eating on me and I don't get an infection. She said, bacteria, what are they? I said, they're invisible beings. And she said, you mean spirits? I said, no, I mean bacteria. So Donna and I, if they're invisible, they have to be spirits. So the following month, I took a microscope from the laboratory, took it to the Amazon, and took a drop of rainwater and put it in the slide and invited her and all the kids to take a look. And they went, oh my God, there's a world in here. It's amazing. I said, yep, bacteria, invisible beings. But it's so much harder for me when I'm talking to a scientist to tell them that they're actually invisible beings in the quantum field, that we're surrounded by consciousness, that the universe is conscious, that the quantum field is conscious, and there are beings all around us we can't see. And some of them are benevolent and some of them are hungry. And if you have an affinity for the lower life forms and your unhealed forces and passions and anger, you're going to be attracting some of these hungry, low-level spirits. And if you are a more evolved being, you're going to be attracting these luminous, beautiful, beautiful beings that will come at this time. So I'm going to speak about also how do we create safety? How do we create a field that is sacred and holy in our homes and over our children and grandchildren? And at this time, particularly when the gates of heaven and hell have been totally flung open.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. So really knowing that inside that bubble of water that we all live in, that there are invisible spirits, opens us to be able to engage them in ways that we don't if we don't know they're there.
That we do it consciously.
Yeah.
Yes.
So so we need to be able to tune ourselves up, up-tune ourselves so that we attract only the highest and quality of beings. And in order to up-tune ourselves, we have to heal our shadow, make it conscious. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychologist, believed that the shadow could never be seen. It followed us always like our shadow does, which is why he called it that, but we could never see it. We could never get rid of it. The shamans know that you can discover what it is, you stop projecting it, you own it, and then your demons become your allies.
That's incredible. Yeah, so I hope everybody that's watching has a sense of what a powerful experience Energy Fest is going to be, and how blessed and fortunate we are to have Alberto presenting as a keynote and also his workshop following the conference. So thank you so much, Alberto,
Thank
for
you,
taking the time.
Alberto. Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thank
see
you.
you
Blessings.
there.
And I'll see you in Cleveland.
Okay. Bye-bye.